My name's Corbin. I'm the head coach at Allegiant South Bay. This is the AMA for Block 5. We appreciate everybody's questions. Let's get started. When is the next event? The next event is Salsa Night in South Bay. That's going to be on May 20th from 5 to 7. Make sure you RSVP using the link in the description below. I'm not going to be teaching this class. There's going to be a specific salsa instructor teaching this class, and I will be making a fool of myself trying to follow along as best I can. So make sure you RSVP. Does Allegiant have plans for a lower body hypertrophy class? We get this question a lot, or we get a question about having a lower body specific hypertrophy class. So the whole idea behind our upper body hypertrophy class, or having a hypertrophy class that only focuses on the upper body, is to have it not take away from our other 3 total body workouts. So the thought being, we have smaller muscle groups in the upper body, we're using less total weight, and if we're acutely fatigued in the upper body, it still shouldn't eat into our practice 1, 2, and 3 on team or strength. So if we were to do a lower body only hypertrophy class, and say we just blasted our quads, our glutes, and our hamstrings, the chances that we'd be able to successfully get through a practice 1 or a practice 3 where we're squatting or hinging or deadlifting would be, slim to none. And we already see a drop off from week 1 to week 4 in our attendance of our classes. So we just imagine that if people were coming more to a lower body hypertrophy class, feeling more sore in general, and then not coming to the classes later on in the block because they're so sore, that wouldn't help people reach their goals. It would probably lead to more overuse injury and not training as consistently 52 weeks out of the year. So short answer, no, we don't have a plan for a lower body only hypertrophy class. The suggestion there would be make sure we're getting to practice 1, 2, and 3 for team or strength, because those are our main, those are the days where we're going to have lower body built into the program. Make sure we're choosing appropriate weights, using the described and coached range of motion, and sticking to the appropriate tempo. I feel like I overshot my pull-up weight for this block. The sets of 2 were solid, but I don't know where to go from here. So the theme of this block is clusters, meaning we're going to do about 2 reps, wait 15 seconds, do 2 more reps, wait 15 seconds, do the last 2 reps, and then call that a set. The way we're going to overload or progress week to week is adding a rep to each one of those clusters each week. So week 2 will be 3 plus 3 plus 3, week 3 will be 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then week 4 will be 5 plus 5 plus 5. So if I started off with 5 kilos on week 1 and I want to progress to doing 5 kilos for those 15 total reps, 5 plus 5 plus 5 on week 4, but in this case, in my overall KPI pull-ups, I only got 13 reps. We might be looking at that like, wow, 15 reps with a 5 kilo plate strapped to my waist might be a little bit of a challenge. So what do we do in this situation? One, that intra-set rest in between those clusters of 5 will definitely help us out in getting our total reps at what we're looking for. So my recommendation would be sticking with that same weight for all 4 weeks. And then on week 4, we're just going to do whatever we need to do to get 15 reps. So in this case, that might be 5 reps on the first cluster, 5 reps on the second cluster, and then a third cluster of maybe 2 or 3 reps, followed by another cluster of 2 or 3 reps. But getting those 15 total reps in each set on week 4. It's really no different than somebody who's going body weight and struggles to hit 15 reps or 5 plus 5 plus 5 on body weight. This week probably felt good going 2 plus 2 plus 2, but next week their goal is to get 9 total reps. That might be 3 reps, rest 15 seconds, 3 reps, rest 15 seconds, 1 rep, rest a little, 1 rep, rest a little, 1 rep, but with the goal of getting 9 total reps in that set before we take our 1.5-minute-ish break. What should I do when it comes to week 4 and I feel like I overshot my weights and I don't want to come in to train? Should I skip? Should I do less weight? What's my solution here? So we have a bunch of potential answers here. Number 1, the easiest solution is probably to go down in weight. So we can treat this like a deload week. I had a question on last AMA where I suggested week 4 could be a deload week as opposed to making the next block, week 1, a reload week. So we could really do the same thing here. If I have overshot my weights and week 4, I don't feel like I can go up again, I can go even lighter than what I went on week 1 and treat it as a deload week. Another possible solution would be going up in weight, but just doing less sets. So one thing that Coach Tim has talked about in the past in both the blogs and amongst the staff is potentially keeping the intensity up as much as we can and decreasing volume. So for example, on this block, if we've got 4 sets of clusters, so 4 sets of 5 plus 5 plus 5, maybe if we're, our RSI or our jump height or our Nord board's really down, or on the previous week, we struggled to get 4 plus 4 plus 4, maybe this week we only do 3 sets of 5 plus 5 plus 5, or maybe just 2 sets of 5 plus 5 plus 5. This way the intensity stays up on week 4, but we do a volume drop. Other options would be maybe we take week 4 and instead of going to team, we go to strength class, or we try hypertrophy, we try conditioning, we focus more on the supplementary stuff, then focus on, the main programs of the block like team and strength, or maybe we just supplement whatever, if it's practice 1 that we overshot our weights on, maybe we go to stretch instead of going to practice 1 that week. So we only get 2 workouts in that week as opposed to 3. So we decrease our frequency. But those are all better options than just taking the whole week off overall. Taking the whole week off overall is going to, number 1, interrupt your schedule, your consistency. It throws off your routine. Number 2, it's going to make it harder to get back into it the following block from like a soreness and a movement competency standpoint. It's going to feel worse to try and pick it back up. Think about when you go on vacation and you're not able to come in. It's always hardest coming back for those first week or 2. We don't want to create that if we don't have to. So it's okay if we overshot our weights on weeks 1, 2, and 3. Goal is to not stop coming in. Just either supplement with strength, supplement with some of the other classes, adjust your volume, or adjust the weights and treat it like a deload week. I generally agree that strength training is more important than cardio. However, there's also a lot of good research behind longevity and improving our VO2 max. So how can I marry these 2 concepts, like strength training, without incorporating some high intensity HIIT training, so to speak? So when it comes to marrying strength training and cardiovascular training with the goal of improving our VO2 max to increase our quality of life or improve our longevity, there are a lot of other options than high intensity interval training. When I talk about high intensity interval training, or HIIT training for short, I'm talking about some of these other boutique fitness facilities that might be chains out there that have 30 to 45 minute classes that are really just doing stuff to get the heart rate up and keep it up. Those aren't really going to be cardiovascular type of classes. They're going to be more lactic in nature. So we're thinking somewhere between, a 45 to 90 second work period. And that's going to be really hard to recover from. So my answer earlier about why we don't have a lower body hypertrophy class is the same reason that we've kind of done away with some of the moderate to higher intensity conditioning classes, because we don't want them to take away from the bread and butter of our workouts, those practices 1, 2, and 3 of team or strength. So what can we do outside of practices 1, 2, and 3 to improve our VO2 max or just get cardiovascularly in better shape? Number 1, best thing to do is walk. If we can get a 45 to 90 minute walk in on the days that we're not coming into Allegiate, that's going to help train our cardiovascular system. It's going to help improve our recovery, right? So we have this concept of high-low vertical integration. Our high days are going to be our strength training days here at Allegiate. Again, think practice 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to be on our off days, the days that we're not doing practices 1, 2, or 3, we want to keep the training intensity relatively low and a longer duration. Anything in the middle is going to hurt our recovery for the things at the ends of the spectrum. So the high intensity stuff like strength training, or the low intensity cardiovascular stuff. So walking would be one option. If we have a Peloton, or the weather's finally turning nice here, so if we have a bike and we want to get outside, we can do the exact same thing on the bike. We'll cover a lot more distance, but we want to keep that heart rate somewhere between zone 1 and zone 2. So if we've got like a MyZone or a Polar, staying between that 60 to 70% of our maximum heart rate, that zone 1, zone 2 cardio, is going to help us improve our cardiovascular fitness without taking away from the strength training we're doing here at Allegiate. That's going to give you the longevity benefits that you want and leave you feeling like you can do, practices 1, 2, and 3, as well as keep up with your kids or go play volleyball on the weekends and go do the things that you're interested in doing outside of just training to look good, feel good, play good. A few AMAs back, our South Bay member, Kamal, asked us about how much time we should spend in the sticky spots. So that's a cue that I'll use during our cars to slow down the movement. And I'll use a bunch of other cues. I'll say 1 mile an hour, spend time in the sticky spots, take it nice and slow. So CARS stands for controlled articular rotations. 3 main purposes behind why we do CARS. The first is it's a warm-up. The joint capsule doesn't get blood flow the same way that our tissues do. It gets it through movement. So by taking the joint through its full range of motion, we're guaranteeing that we're going to get blood flow to that joint and help us warm up and prepare for the workout. Number 2, movement is or range of motion is a use it or lose it thing. So if we're not using it, the body's not going to spend resources to maintain it. By taking ourselves through CARS 3 times a week before practice 1, 2, and 3, we're trying to send that signal to the body, hey, I'm using this range of motion, let's maintain it. And then that way throughout, as we get older in life, later on, we have that range of motion, so our quality of life stays higher. And then lastly, it serves as a self-scan. So before a workout, you come in, you take that joint through its full range of motion, you find out, hey, am I sore today from the previous workout? Is there some type of impingement, or am I getting some pinchy pain in there that's not normal? And it just makes you as the lifter more prepared for the workout and more aware of how that joint is feeling on that day. So when I say, hey, spend extra time in the sticky spots, it's more about not rushing through a spot that's uncomfortable and sending the signal to the body that, hey, I'm using this range of motion. Let's make this smoother and maybe even improve upon it if possible. So we want to go through CARS nice and slow, 1 mile an hour, with the intent of warming up the joint, maintaining, and hopefully improving upon our range of motion. If you go to stretch class, instead of doing 3 reps forward and backward at every single joint, we're going for 30 seconds. And the purpose of that is we want to take it slow. So we're thinking 2, 3, maybe 4 reps in that 30-second time span. And if we're getting more than that, we're probably going too fast. But either way, you're going to do it for 30 seconds. So you might as well go slow and spend time in the sticky spots. Some housekeeping general reminders. We have 60% off all of our women's merch through the end of the month. We have 40% off all of our other merch through the end of the month. Thank you guys for submitting your questions for the AMA. Get your questions ready for the next training block.